Hello and welcome. You're listening to Pure Light, where we explore how you can believe in yourself and be happy with who you are. My name is Eiley. This is episode 12, and I'm going to talk about worrying. I want to share with you a story from a couple of years ago. So back when I was a very busy full-time management consultant, I was traveling every week for work. So probably for the last 4 years or so that I was in that job, I would get on a plane and I would leave my home every Sunday night or Monday morning. And I would fly to a different city where the client was, and then I would stay there for the week and come home usually on Thursday nights. So I would be on planes usually at least twice a week. And although that seemed really glamorous and fun before I started doing it, it's something that can be quite stressful. There's a lot of logistics to look after and, time zone changes too sometimes. And then on top of that, there's the whole packing and unpacking and, making sure you get to the airport on time and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that I found was that I would be really stressed out on Sundays. So regardless of whether I was leaving Sunday night or Monday morning, I would end up feeling stressed out for most of the day. And I would probably spend, maybe an hour or two or whatever packing stuff up to get myself ready for the week. And I would often be worrying about what could possibly go wrong during that time. So, what if I forget something? Or what if my ride doesn't show up to the airport? What if I miss my flight? What if my flight gets delayed? What if I don't make it to the meeting on time tomorrow morning? And so there was just a lot going on in my mind when I would be packing and getting ready. And the last probably year and a half or so that I was doing that travel every week, that was when I got into yoga quite seriously. So I started practicing probably at least 3 times a week, maybe more, maybe up to 5 times, depending on my schedule. And what I ended up noticing after I got into yoga was that it wasn't just the worries in my mind that were happening on those Sundays. I actually noticed that I was holding my breath as I was packing and getting ready for the week, which was a really shocking thing to notice because the breath isn't something that most of us pay attention to unless we consciously choose to pay attention to it through something like yogic breathing. It's something that I think we often take for granted. And it was pretty shocking to me to realize that I was basically not allowing myself to breathe when I was walking around my condo and packing stuff up, because that was ultimately what was creating that stress and that sense of anxiety for me. So it wasn't just the thoughts in my mind. It was actually the physical deprivation of oxygen. And so I ended up basically starting to breathe more consciously as I was packing and getting ready for the week. And that totally changed my experience of travel, because before that, I think I thought that I would need to stop traveling in order for that stress to go away. And what it actually turned out to be was that I just needed to start breathing in order for that stress to go away, which was a pretty big insight for me at the time. So this is what I've learned. Worry is just a mental habit. It's a thinking pattern that involves using your imagination to focus on the worst case scenario. So it's going through all the what ifs and looking at it from a negative lens. It's often the result of us unconsciously manipulating the breath, which ends up causing distress in the body and creates that feeling of anxiety. It may not necessarily involve holding the breath like it did for me. It could also be that the breath gets shallower or faster. I think we all have our own patterns of what that is when we're in a sense of stress. And you can discover what it is for you by paying attention to the breath when you feel worried and stressed out. According to yogic theory, the breath is the bridge between the mind and the body. So it's the thing that can be used to unite the mind and body when the mind gets caught up in a mental loop like worrying. When the mind and the body are disconnected like that, the breath can be used to guide the mind back into the present moment. So get it out of that loop of worrying and panicking and figuring out everything that can possibly go wrong, and just bringing it back into the now and feeling a deeper sense of calm. So the next time you find yourself worrying, use it as a sign to reconnect with the breath. It isn't a sign that you need to panic about anything. You just need to take a few deep breaths. I'll put a meditation to release worry and anxiety into the show notes, which you can find at purelightpodcast.com. Look for episode 12. If you enjoyed this, please share it with a friend. And if you want to share any insights or thoughts about it, use the hashtag PureLightPodcast. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, may you be guided by your light.